Sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, casting a gentle glow that seemed to momentarily lift the weight of the world. The morning light painted the worn linoleum floor in a warm golden hue, creating a serene atmosphere that belied the undercurrents of tension within the small kitchen. The floor, though scuffed and aged, seemed to come alive under the sunlight, each scratch and mark telling a story of years gone by. It was a familiar sight, one that Clara had grown accustomed to over the years, yet today it felt different, almost melancholic. Clara hummed a gentle tune as she moved about the small space, packing a lunchbox with practiced efficiency. Her hands moved swiftly, almost mechanically, as if they'd memorized the routine long ago. The hum of her tune was soft, almost drowned out by the ticking of the kitchen clock, but it was a melody that brought a semblance of peace to the otherwise quiet morning. Her son Daniel sat at the table, a stoic observer to her quiet symphony of morning routines. His eyes followed her every move, a mixture of admiration and longing evident in his gaze. He was a quiet child, often lost in his thoughts. But today his silence seemed heavier, laden with unspoken words and unexpressed emotions. He pushed the half-eaten toast around his plate, a frown etching lines on his youthful face. The toast, once warm and inviting, now lay cold and unappetizing, much like the atmosphere in the room. Daniel's mind was elsewhere, far from the breakfast table, lost in a world of his own making. Daniel loved his mother, he truly did. She was his world, his anchor in the stormy seas of childhood, but lately a quiet discontent had taken root in his heart, a seed of resentment that grew with each passing day. It was a feeling he couldn't quite understand, let alone articulate, but it was there, gnawing at the edges of his happiness. He longed for her presence, for shared laughter and whispered secrets. He missed the days when they would sit together, her arms wrapped around him, reading stories that transported them to magical worlds. Those moments were rare now, replaced by hurried mornings and exhausted evenings. He longed for her presence, for shared laughter and whispered secrets. He missed the days when they would sit together, her arms wrapped around him, reading stories that transported them to magical worlds. Those moments were rare now, replaced by hurried mornings and exhausted evenings. He yearned for the warmth of her smile, the comfort of her touch, but it seemed those days were slipping away, lost in the relentless march of time. Yet it seemed her days were consumed by work, her evenings lost to the fatigue that followed. Clara worked tirelessly, her job demanding more of her than she had to give. She would come home, her shoulders slumped, her eyes heavy with exhaustion, and Daniel would watch, his heart aching for the mother he once knew. He yearned for her attention, for a break in her weary routine where he could capture a sliver of her time, her focus solely on him. He wanted to tell her about his day, about the new book he was reading, about the dreams that filled his nights, but more than anything he wanted to feel her love, to know that he was still the center of her world. But as Clara rushed out the door, a hurried goodbye escaping from her lips, Daniel felt the familiar sting of abandonment, the unspoken words of love lost in the whirlwind of their daily lives. He watched her go, a lump forming in his throat, the weight of his unspoken feelings pressing down on him. Daniel felt the familiar sting of abandonment, the unspoken words of love lost in the whirlwind of their daily lives. He watched her go, a lump forming in his throat, the weight of his unspoken feelings pressing down on him. He wanted to call out to her, to ask her to stay, but the words never came. Instead, he sat there alone in the quiet kitchen, the sunlight streaming through the window, a silent witness to his quiet discontent. Life hadn't always been this way. There was a time when the mornings were filled with the sound of birds chirping and the smell of fresh dew on the grass. The world seemed simpler then, a place where worries were few and far between. Daniel had vivid memories of bedtime stories and playful afternoons, moments that seemed to stretch on forever in the golden light of his childhood. His mother, Clara, was the center of his universe, her voice a soothing balm that could chase away any fear or worry. There was a time when his mother's laughter filled their small home, a sound so full of life and joy that it seemed to make the walls themselves smile. Those were the days when the world felt safe and full of endless possibilities, but his father's passing had cast a long shadow over their lives, a shadow that seemed to grow longer and darker with each passing day. The once vibrant home was now filled with a silence that was almost deafening. leaving Clara to shoulder the weight of their world alone. The burden of single parenthood was a heavy one. She had to be both mother and father, a role that left little room for rest or respite. She worked tirelessly to provide for them, her days a relentless cycle of work and worry. Each morning she would rise before the sun, her mind already racing with the tasks that lay ahead. Her days a blur of endless shifts and weary commutes, the weight of her responsibilities etched into the lines of her face. Yet she never complained, her love for Daniel giving her the strength to carry on. Daniel understood, he truly did. He saw the sacrifices his mother made, the silent battles she fought each day. He knew that every tired smile and every weary hug was a testament to her love for him. He knew his mother carried a heavy burden, one that seemed to grow heavier with each passing year. The weight of their world rested on her shoulders, and she bore it with a grace that left him in awe. Her sacrifices were made out of love, a love so deep and unwavering that it could move mountains. Daniel felt it in every touch, every word, every look that passed between them. Yet understanding did little to quell the loneliness that gnawed at him. The empty spaces in their home seemed to echo with the absence of his father, a void that no amount of love could fill. He watched his friends, their lives filled with family dinners and weekend outings, moments of togetherness that seemed to come so easily to them. He longed for those simple joys, the laughter and love that seemed to flow so freely in their homes. And a bitter envy took root in his heart, a feeling that he tried to push away but could never quite shake. He craved those stolen moments of togetherness that seemed to elude them, the simple pleasures that others took for granted. He craved those simple joys, the laughter and love that seemed to flow so freely in their homes. He wished for a time when his mother could shed the weight of her responsibilities, if only for a little while. Those stolen moments of togetherness that seemed to elude them, the simple pleasures that others took for granted. He wished for a time when his mother could shed the weight of her responsibilities, if only for a little while. He wished his mother could shed the weight of her responsibilities, if only for a little while, and simply be present with him. He yearned for the day when the exhaustion that clung to her like a second skin would fade, and simply be present with him. He yearned for the day when the exhaustion that clung to her like a second skin would fade, replaced by the vibrant woman he knew resided beneath. He yearned for the day when the exhaustion that clung to her like a second skin would fade, replaced by the vibrant woman he knew resided beneath. He dreamed of a time when they could laugh together again, free from the burdens that weighed them down, replaced by the vibrant woman he knew resided beneath. He dreamed of a time when they could laugh together again, free from the burdens that weighed them down. Until then he held on to the hope that one day the weight of the world would lift and they would find their way back to the light. One sweltering summer afternoon, restlessness gnawed at Daniel. With Clara away at work, the silence of their home pressed in on him, heavy and suffocating. He wandered aimlessly, his feet carrying him towards the attic stairs. He rarely ventured into the dimly lit space, a repository of forgotten memories and dusty relics from a life before. As he navigated through the labyrinth of boxes and forgotten furniture, his gaze fell upon an old cedar chest tucked away in a shadowy corner. It was his mother's, he realized, a treasure trove of mementos she held dear. Curiosity piqued, he lifted the heavy lid, the musty scent of time washing over him. Beneath layers of yellowed lace and faded photographs, his fingers brushed against a bundle of letters, tied together with a faded ribbon. Intrigued, he pulled them free, their weight surprisingly heavy in his hands. As he sat amidst the dust and memories, he began to read, and with each word a world he never knew unfolded before him, piece by piece. The letters were addressed to him, penned in his mother's familiar hand. Each stroke of the pen, each carefully chosen word, carried the weight of years gone by, a silent witness to the passage of time and the evolution of their relationship. They were written over the years, a chronicle of his life from infancy to the cusp of manhood. These letters were more than just ink on paper. They were a living testament to the bond between mother and child, a bond that had weathered the storms of life and emerged stronger. Each letter was a love song, a testament to the depth of her affection, filled with hopes, dreams, and a mother's unwavering pride. They were her way of capturing the fleeting moments, the small victories, and the profound joys that defined their shared journey. Clara wrote of sleepless nights cradling him, the quiet moments under the night sky when the world seemed to pause. and it was just the two of them against the vast expanse of the universe. She recounted his first steps, those tentative, wobbly movements that marked the beginning of his journey into independence, and his clumsy attempts at speech, each mispronounced word a milestone in his development. She poured her heart onto the pages, sharing her anxieties and triumphs, the moments of doubt that every parent faces and the triumphs that made it all worthwhile. Her letters were a window into her soul, revealing the depth of her love and the strength of her spirit. Her fears and aspirations for the young boy she loved beyond measure were laid bare, each word a testament to her unwavering commitment to his well-being and happiness. She wrote of the sacrifices she made, the dreams she set aside, and the opportunities she let slip through her fingers, all for the sake of giving him the best life possible. The missed opportunities and stolen moments of rest, the late nights spent working by candlelight, and the brief moments of respite she allowed herself were all chronicled in her letters, all offered willingly in the name of his well-being. Her letters were a testament to the quiet strength and resilience that defined her, a strength that he had often taken for granted. Daniel sat in the attic, bathed in the fading light, surrounded by the echoes of the past. The letters were a bridge to a time he had long forgotten, a time when his mother's love was the guiding force in his life, his heart aching with a potent mix of regret and burgeoning understanding. He realized how much he had overlooked, how many moments of love and sacrifice had gone unnoticed. He had viewed his mother's life as a closed book, a narrative he was excluded from. But now, with each letter he read, he felt as though he was being invited into her world, a world that was rich with love and sacrifice. A narrative he was excluded from. Yet here, in these letters, he discovered a secret garden, a place where her love for him bloomed in vibrant hues. Yet here, in these letters, he discovered a secret garden, a place where her love for him bloomed in vibrant hues. It was a revelation that changed his understanding of his mother and their relationship, a place where her love for him bloomed in vibrant hues. The letters were a testament to a love that was as enduring as it was profound, a love that had shaped him in ways he was only now beginning to understand.